Hi there. Just checking if anybody's there to see if they can hear me okay. Hello. Can someone just comment if you can hear me okay? The video doesn't look so good from my side. Thank you. Oh, hi, Joanne. Oh. Cool. Hi, Susie. Yay. Awesome. Hi, girls. Just going to wait a few minutes and see if anybody else joins. What's happening? You enjoying the sunshine? Hi, Polly. Mwah. Hi. So this is weird for me. This is my first ever live video thing. I'm a bit of a technophobe. Much rather be sitting in a room with all of you than on my bed, trying to find a quiet corner away from my children. So bear with me. And I've got my notes as well, because otherwise I'll go off on a tangent with this. Hi! Oh, hi, girls. Oh, this is so nice. Like a wee reunion. Hiya! All right. So I think what we'll do is I'll just get started. Obviously, you can catch up anytime if you've not seen it live, so that's cool. So all of you that I can see here actually do know me, but for those of you who are going to watch later on, my name is Audrey. I live here in Glasgow, and I have been a YogaBellies teacher since 2011. Very actively teaching my classes since then, and working within an incredible community of women. Hi, Liz. Oh, hi, everybody. Oh, hey, Sheza. So absolutely love my job. And what I found was I came to YogaBellies with a real passion for pregnancy, for birth, and yoga, obviously. And what this has led me to over these last few years of an insatiable need to learn more is an absolute reverence for women, for our bodies, for just how incredible what our bodies do for us is, and also the importance of really being aware of our menstrual cycles. So people laugh at me always, but actually, one of my favourite topics of discussion is periods, my periods, anybody's periods, periods in general. And thinking about it today in preparation for all this, I realised that it's something I've always been very comfortable to discuss um, from a very early age when my period started. And so for me, it's pretty normal to be able to just talk about it. But as you'll probably know and hopefully learn a wee bit more about with this talk, is that it's definitely not the same for all women. So over the last sort of 6 months or so, I stopped reading about birth and babies and yoga and started reading about menstruation an awful lot. And this is how I stumbled across Menstrual Hygiene D, which I didn't know was a thing until maybe 8 weeks ago. And of course, got very excited when I realised there was a day we could actually talk about this and create awareness. So obviously I started looking into it a wee bit more. Hi Nikki! Oh hi! So very excited when I did stumble across it, and really pleased to be able to tell you a wee bit more about it. Some of you might have gone on to their website and had a look yourself, or looked at the Facebook link, which is really good. They've got some incredible posts on there, so I highly recommend that you pop onto it. It's Menstrual Hygiene D Global is their Facebook, and there's some great videos. There's just lovely images, really important information about what they're up to. But basically, it was started by an initiative called WASH, as in Wash to be Clean, all capitals WASH. And they are an initiative that focus on the importance of hygiene in general for good health, especially in developing countries where death rates of young children through diarrhea are actually higher than through TB or cholera, which is pretty crazy. So they obviously have realised through their work with this that menstrual hygiene is as important as general hygiene for overall health, obviously, with women. So they started the first Menstrual Hygiene Day in 2014, and since then it's grown and grown. And last year they had over 350 events worldwide. Hi, Sarah! Which is amazing. And now that I've stumbled across this, I'm really hoping that perhaps next year we could do an actual formal event and be involved with them as a partnership somehow, and use all their incredible resources and do a proper event with it all. But this is a really good place to start, so I'm very excited about it. So let me tell you a wee bit about them. So menstrualhygieneday.org is the website. It's really cool. It's very informative, but very easily informative. Lots of nice wee infographics and things which you can print off and use, or just read through yourself, that make an awful lot of sense. What I am really big on just now is sort of human rights to do with women, to do with birth, and now to do with menstrual equality, as well as obviously this important issue, menstrual hygiene. So basically they've broken up their objectives into several sections, which are all pretty relevant, obviously. And they're using the hashtag this year, No More Limits, which speaks volumes about how some women's lives can be limited just by the simple fact that they, like every other woman on the planet, are menstruating. So the first sort of bit that they look into is why menstruation matters, and they've broken this down again. So why does it matter worldwide? So obviously women need to manage their menstruation throughout their reproductive years, which is an awful long time. And for those of us fortunate enough to be growing up in the UK, where we are a developed country and we have fresh running water and we don't think about it, and actually tend to just think about our periods as something that can be inconvenient, or the curse, as it's commonly known. But we take for granted the fact that we have pretty healthy lives and everything we need to manage our periods without thinking twice about it. Whatever you're using for your period, whether it's tampons or towels or moon cups or whatever it is, we have them freely available. We don't need to think about it. We go through our periods, 5 days. It could be painful, and we might feel a bit rubbish, and we have PMS and all these things, but we don't become incredibly unwell from it. So we should really be counting our blessings because of that. And throughout the world, it's completely different depending on socioeconomic status, depending on cultural beliefs, and what is seen to be normal. And even where we are today in the UK, it's still not 100% normal to be walking about with a tampon being, shown freely in your hand, walking to the toilet with your big pad in your hand. You wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't. You would take your handbag, or you would hide it in your pocket, or whatever else. But really, why should we be doing that? Every single woman on the planet menstruates. Every human being in the world knows that every woman menstruates, but still we hide it. Okay, and this is one of the things that is really being targeted about creating a sense of normalcy around menstruation, which sounds crazy. Even when I say it out loud, it just sounds crazy because of course it's normal. But in some countries, it's definitely not seen as the case. And in a lot of cultures, there's still beliefs that women are unclean when they're menstruating. They're not allowed to cook or go to their place of worship or touch other people, or a lot of pretty crazy things that isolate these women. And often when we're all together as YogaBellies teachers doing a training, or we're at our classes, we talk about a red tent, which sounds like heaven. You have your periods, you go somewhere with other women, braid each other's hair and wash each other's feet with rose water, and all just lie down and bleed into the straw, and it's awesome. But for some women, they are forced into actual isolation when they have their periods, and begin to fear this time, and begin to obviously have a very poor image of their bodies, of the workings of their bodies. And this is how all the stigma around menstruation continues throughout the world. So this is one of the big things that we're really aiming to break. So that is sort of a worldwide challenge. So growing up, as I did in South Africa, there was a tampon brand. I was telling lovely Annie Perry about this the other day. We had a wee laugh. And it's funny, but also it's not really funny. So the tampon brand's name was Outer Sight, and the advert was like, out of sight, out of mind, like put it away, nobody will see it. And that was their whole marketing campaign, was out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to think about your periods. I know, look at all the funny wee faces. Exactly, out of sight. And the packaging was all like 80s neon pink triangle, like if they could have put shoulder pads on them, I'm pretty sure they would have. But it was so you could take them to the toilet and not be embarrassed. Nobody would know what you were carrying. Okay, so that's a modern society, and we still can't accept it as normal. It's pretty worrying. So that's the first bit, is sort of looking at it in a worldwide, global scale. The other thing is for men and boys. Okay, this is really vital. Sorry, I think I'm hitting my keyboard there. To teach men and young boys that menstruation is normal. To teach them to respect it as it should be, that it is just another bodily function and shouldn't be attached to any kind of stigma or taboo. And I'm sure many of you have experienced the "oh, you must be on your period" type remark, which for us, again, looking at it in context, not such a big deal to hear that, but it's annoying and disrespectful. But thinking about this on a bigger scale, where young boys are growing up in households where their mothers are seen to be unclean, or don't not to be around mum when, or their sisters or their cousins when they have their periods, and to really be continuing on with that stigma of ostracizing these women, and making it hard for these women to be socially involved and confident in themselves. So really, really important to address that with young boys, and I definitely am doing that with my children. I only have sons, 2 boys, and one of my main aims is that they grow up respecting these things, and they are amazing with me when I have my periods and stuff. And so hopefully the message is getting through, so that'd be nice. Looking at it to be accessible from all areas of life. So talking specifically here about the practical management of having your period. So having access to good quality sanitary products. Okay, so your tampons, your towels, or whatever it is, but being able to afford them. Okay, so affordable products, and decent ways to dispose of them as well. So there are a lot of places that don't have the facilities to just dispose of sanitary ware, and it's a real issue. Obviously, running water, being able to wash and stay clean and use clean products as well, which is a big, big issue. But other than that, all women need to be able to go to school. Young women need to be able to go to school knowing that they are able to manage these things easily without it being an issue. And what they're finding is that hundreds of thousands of young women across the world are actually not going to school when they have their periods because there's too much stigma, there's no facilities, and so they're missing out on their education, they're missing out on opportunities to join in on sports, other activities that could really further their careers, or well, not even their careers, they're so young, but further their lives. And this is when it becomes a real worldwide human rights issue, because there's no equality for these young women, and there's no support, and they're not getting educated. And a lot of these young girls start their periods and actually think they're dying because nobody has told them about it. They don't understand it. And so part of this campaign is to ensure, if you look on their website, you'll see all their sort of sustainable objectives that they're aiming for by 2030 to reach certain goals. And one of them is to ensure that there is adequate and accurate reproductive health education in all schools, and that there are facilities when women and young girls are travelling about at home, at school, at work, whatever it is, to try and flush out these stigmas, so that women can continue to be healthy but not miss out on stuff, because they shouldn't be missing out on their education. And that is a massive, it's pretty staggering actually when you read about it in more detail. It's really upsetting. So a lot of taboos and myths that are related to menstruation portray women as being inferior to boys or men, and obviously this just grows and grows, and it is ingrained in a lot of cultures. It's ingrained in a lot of countries. A lot of the African countries in particular are really fighting a battle. Uganda is particularly bad. There's a lot of places in India as well that are still just not creating that level of equality for women, and discriminating against women, and particularly against menstruating women, which is crazy. I know, Laura, it is. It's very sad, super sad. And then thinking about inclusion. So what about women with disabilities? So again, I guess in a country like ours, facilities are great. They've got all the help in place, but thinking about women in underdeveloped countries, and how they must struggle without help and support, and how their health must suffer because of it. And really, as women, our periods, or our blood is a real sign of where we are with our physical health and our emotional health and everything else, and it just doesn't get taken into account, and it's all completely wrong. So yes, helping these women to manage their menstruation with dignity across the board, and in particular that inclusion of women who may be struggling with physical disabilities that require more support and more help to manage their menstrual hygiene. So it's a massive, as I said, human rights issue, and actually I was going to pop onto their wee website, if I can open it up on my phone here, and just read you the wee bit there about the human rights, because I can't remember it all. So this is one of their, I don't know, you won't really be able to see it either, or at all now, you can't see it. But that's the wee infographic, and so they've got a whole bit here about menstruation is a matter of human rights. Okay, so menstruation is an issue of human rights and dignity. Many human rights are important to ensure that women and girls can manage their menstruation adequately and with dignity. This includes the right to water, the right to sanitation, the right to health and access to health-related education, including sexual and reproductive health. When women and girls cannot manage their menstruation adequately and with dignity, it impacts on their human rights, including on the right to education, the right to work, the right to health, and on gender equality and dignity more broadly. Okay, so it is a massive issue. And if you think about the fact that at least half of the world is menstruating at any given time, it just, to be honest, just makes me very angry. And also a very valid point as well is about the transgender community. Okay, so anyone born biologically a woman, whether they are in a state of transition to becoming a man they may still be menstruating, and these women are facing such struggles. Just thinking about which toilet they can go into, and you can understand as well, I'm sure, the stigma and the issues attached to all of this as well. So, all menstruating people really need to get the same support. And it sounds ridiculous when you talk about it. It's like support for menstruating, but on a bigger scale, it's pretty shocking what's going on globally. So I would like to recommend this incredible book, which is, I can't get it in the middle of here it is all about equality and human rights regarding our periods. It's absolutely fascinating. I'm halfway through it, but my problem is that I read too many books at once. So I'm also reading this belter, Blood, Bread and Roses, How Menstruation Created the World. And this also has massive element of the human rights issues linked to, ancient taboos and beliefs about menstruation, and how so many of them are still filtering down. And it used to be that the women weren't allowed near the water at all if they were bleeding, because there was a fear that they would contaminate the water and that the crops would die and then everyone would die, because that's going to happen. But very fascinating reading to actually see how menstruation has been charted since the dawn of time, and is responsible for really timekeeping as we know it, and the link to how humans in general first started realizing a link between the cycle of a woman's period and the phases of the moon before they had a word for day or night or time. This was the first method of tracking time. So really, really fascinating. And then obviously, rather ironically, if it was so awesome and they realised that, then why is there so much stigma attached to it still today? So it's really a massive, massive issue that needs addressed. This is another wee good one, but this is more about the spiritual side of things. So I won't start on that now, otherwise we'll never get off tonight. But I do recommend this one as well, all about working with your cycle and where you feel. Yes, Laura, I will pop all the links up to the books, so I'll definitely do that. And this one, which Cheryl told me I must buy, and I've still not read it yet. But I will. There's a very funny story about ordering this one from the guy at my local Waterstones. When he looked it up, he was like, understanding the gifts of the myth, and he couldn't actually say the word menstrual, so I made him say the word menstrual, and that was quite funny. So that's the basics of what Menstrual Hygiene D is all about. What we are asking this week is that if you are going along to a YogaBellies class, if you would very, very kindly donate a pack, or as many as you fancy, a pack or 2 or 3 or whatever you can afford, of really good quality products, so tampons or sanitary towels. I would have always said moon cups as well. However, looking into it, I realised that even here in Glasgow or London, wherever you guys are in the UK, not all women actually have access to facilities that would adequately clean their moon cups. So I would request these rather disposable sanitary products that can be brought into your YogaBellies classes, given to your teacher, and they will then donate whatever we receive to a local food bank who are actually crying out for this, or to a local women's aid centre, and even things like a nice wee pack of pants, something nice that we can put in as well. Thinking about ladies who just simply don't have the access or the means to manage these things properly. So it would be very, very awesome if you could do that. And if you're unsure, you can just check with your YogaBellies teacher that they are doing it, but hopefully all of our teachers were encouraging them to take part. So that's really what I wanted to say. I could go on and on about lots of things, but it will just stir me off in many, many other directions. I need to rein myself in. I will pop the links up, and I will pop the links up to the website for Menstrual Health Day as well. And do also have a look at their Facebook page. They've got a wee link there, I think, to almost like these certificates, isn't it? They call them speech bubbles, and you can say why it's important, and you can take a picture of yourself and post it up. So I'm hoping to get that done. I hope to get it done today on the actual day, but I had too much yesterday, so done. So does anybody have any wee questions or anything at the moment? I'm gonna have a wee sip, little sip of my coffee. I'm trying to think if there's anything important that I didn't say. Probably lots. Any other wee questions, obviously just pop them up here on comments, and I will check in tomorrow and through the week. And thank you so much for coming in from the sunshine to spend a wee bit of time with me and hear me talk about periods. Yay! And it was lovely to see you all. Thanks, girls. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.